So let me guess, you're hearing a lot of noise about Airbnb, likely hearing that it is slowing down, like it's way too turbulent. It's not a good time to get into the short-term rental space right now, when in reality, you have about 3 years left to start an Airbnb and get into the game. Because understand, while the capital markets are causing all kind of chaos, is affecting the real estate market in all different kind of ways, as well as the short-term rental market, if you have the fortitude, if you have the right operation systems, if you have the right infrastructure, and you're able to still build a business in times like this, you will be the one to reap the rewards when things actually do get better in the marketplace. So understand what I mean by you have a few years left to start. If you're able to do this business and do it the right way, you tapped into the right community, this is actually an amazing, amazing time to get into the short-term rental business because we are still very, very profitable at ours. Let's talk about it. Tap it. So now there's a theory that I want you to grasp, and that theory is called profit equilibrium. Economic theory states that in the long run, every firm will become perfectly efficient and produce zero profit. In other words, the longer a company exists, other competitors will enter the market and prices will be forced down to the lowest possible levels. The best way to make money in any industry, therefore, is to be an early adopter. I think we can see this, and I think Tesla will be an amazing example for this because Tesla was an early adopter of the EV market, right? And what's happening right now is you're seeing a lot more competition in the EV market in other car dealerships, which honestly, Tesla already knew this was gonna happen. They already knew other car companies were gonna compete, and by default, they have to come down on their price of their vehicles in order to compete. So at the end of the day, any business has to go through this profit equilibrium process because as Airbnb is still growing and still gaining popularity right now, we are kind of finding ourselves kind of at this point. In the short-term rental space, you may not believe it, you may not even process it this way, but we are still in the early adopters phase. And this means that right now is still an amazing time because guess what? The window will close, but right now the window is still open for people to get in this business and do it the right way and grow a very successful, profitable short-term rental business. Okay, so 2 reasons why now is an amazing time to get into the game. Number 1, rising OTA listings. Though Airbnb listings dropped down to 5.6 million during the pandemic, as of 2022, there's about 7 million listings, which was a return to the pre-pandemic high. As supply increases, it will become increasingly difficult for your property to be more noticed and ultimately decrease the rental income. And here's the thing. You have to understand that now we're kind of getting to that pre-pandemic in terms of supply because it's still a supply and demand game. It doesn't change in the short-term rental game. If there's increased supply, that means you will be harder to get noticed. And yes, we talk a lot about how to stand out in your listings, how to make sure that you're pricing your listings properly, to make sure that you're optimizing your pricing and being dynamic with your pricing to stand out. But the reality is this number, as more and more people get into the game, unfortunately, the downside of that is most of them get in uneducated. They get in not knowing how to handle security issues, not even knowing how to handle turnovers properly. And as a result, they're providing bad experiences for the guests. And so when people ask me all the time, man, do you want to keep giving the game out for short-term rentals? Why do you keep giving it out? But at the end of the day, I love giving it out because there's no shortage of good hosts. And so it's definitely a great time to get in the game and get in the game the right way because it's the good host that's getting all the bookings right now. So as supply consistently increase in the game, this means that yes, there's going to be more competition. Occupancy rates fell in 31 of the top 50 largest U.S. short-term rental markets from July through September, according to AirDNA. While some larger markets are already oversaturated, this also indicates that there are still many markets which are undersupplied. Now, I think one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of hosts make when they look to get in the game, they look to see, okay, where's a lot of people making money at? And they'll go straight for those larger markets, right? I think that's a mistake. There are so many other markets because guess what? 31 of the top 50, that's a little over half. That's still a lot of untapped markets that have amazing opportunities for you to grow your short-term rental portfolio and has a lot less competition. So you have to ask yourself, for one, do you want to be a small fish in a big pond, or a big fish in a small pond. And the reality is this number will consistently increase. So as more markets become more overly saturated, it even further proves that now is the best time to get into the game. So number 2 reason why you want to get started and get in the game now. So number 2 is Superhost status. Currently, one of the best ways to rank your listing higher is to qualify as a Superhost. As short-term rental platforms continue to grow, premier status like Superhost will become more common, and it will be harder to differentiate your service and offering. I'm gonna read you a quick stat real quick. About 19.4% of Airbnb hosts right now are Superhosts, but 57 at any given moment, 57% of Airbnb hosts are not Superhosts, not because of reviews or anything, but they haven't met the 10 plus bookings minimum status. So that means that at any point, if they continue to be hosts, then they will all become Superhosts as well. So what that tells us, over time, there will be more and more Superhosts being created, and you'll find that that number is going to go up. So what that tells us is that over time, this status will become less and less valuable. So that also further proves why now is the time to get in the game, because being a Superhost matters the most the earlier you get in. So another early advantage is, while there always will be ways to stand out, establishing a track record for your properties while the game is still developing is one of the best ways to ensure SEO in your future. The Rare Find feature on Airbnb, for example, alerts potential clients to available properties which are typically booked to occupancy. Now, the thing is that I would actually argue, because the Rare Find means that, this property usually tends to be booked, when it usually has a consistent percentage of how it's been booked for a few months, and it's not being that consistently booked like it typically would, then you likely will find that Airbnb will tag you as a Rare Find. And I will argue that having a status of a Rare Find on your listing can be more impactful than actually being a Superhost. Airbnb Bust, is it real? Absolutely, yes it is. But I would argue that it's a phenomenal time for short-term rental hosts. The current Airbnb Bust is actually good news for serious hosts, because this type of media coverage discourages any new competition from entering the marketplace and helps existing listings thrive without the fierce competition, at least for the time being. Like we mentioned earlier, if you are succumbed to this Airbnb bust, you have to change your mindset and how you look at it. The hosts that are actually operating as a business, because understand, if you're doing this business right, you are a business, and your identity as an operator needs to speak to that. So for folks who are actually looking to do this business the right way, Airbnb Bust can actually be a good thing. So as you can see, while a lot of people are scared and fearful because of the bust, this leaves more opportunities for hosts like me and you to get in the game and thrive. So in reality, whether it's 3 years or 5 years, the truth is the sooner the better. Now is the time to get in the game. So if you're looking to scale your business and take your business to a whole nother level, and you're interested in getting in the game, hit the link below. I'll be happy to chat with you. And of course, if you saw value in this, hit the subscribe button, smash that subscribe button. And of course, I will see you in the next video.